This is not a trader's market. This is a believer's market. Forget about TA, forget about range trading, forget about timing. Whatever the market caps, BAYC and CryptoPunks went to, the top meme coins are gonna do 30x more, 50x more, 100x more even.
Murad, what's up, man? Good morning. How you doing?
Hey guys, how's it going? Can you hear me, see me well?
Hear you well, see you perfectly. I love it. I have to say, from long hair to long hair, man, I love the flow. So, I mean, mine's tied up right now, but I gotta say, I love your flow, Murad. How you doing today?
Awesome. Appreciate it, guys, and thank you for having me. Doing well.
Yeah, thank you for making it, especially on short notice. We were joking about it on the show yesterday. We're like, yo, let's get Murad on the show today because Tyler here, our co-host, loves your list and obviously goes over it every day. Even made a special index for him all and everything. So we're deep right now into the Murad trenches on FOMO hour. So definitely want to have a few questions ready to talk to you about. But Murad, first, like honestly, I think even for myself personally, would love to know more about your background. How'd you got here? And of course, how it feels to be the main character right now. But most importantly, like, how'd you get here? Like, who is Murad?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm originally from Azerbaijan. Went to study at university in the United States. While I was there, I did a year abroad in China, and that was kind of late 2013, early 2014, during the famous 2013 Bitcoin bubble, sort of 4 years before the 2017 bubble. Was very lucky. Had a few foreigner friends that were like involved in the early BTC ecosystem. So that was kind of my first exposure. Was kind of lucky to be at the right place at the right time. When 2016, 2017 came rolling back, I was obviously already looking at Ethereum BTC and realized that I needed to sort of take crypto more seriously. Before that, I worked in commodities trading and in TradFi. And since 2017, been doing a bunch of different things in crypto, writing, on-chain analysis, obviously like trading, investments, been building in DeFi, had a fund in 2019, 2020. Unfortunately, didn't go so well, but we're back and continuing to grind, continuing to hustle. Right now I am building a DeFi trading protocol, social fi trading protocol called STFX. And of course, I'm also involved in a bunch of different meme coin things, sort of investing, trading, and just trying to analyze meme coins, like both on chain and from a qualitative perspective as well.
Wow. Okay. That is an extensive back. Did you guys expect that, Mando, Tyler? I mean, that is a sick background. Love to see it. I'm gonna give it to Tyler here in a second because he's got a bunch of questions on your thesis, and we're gonna dive right into it. But Murad, how does it feel to be main character right now? You're that Token 2049 interview made waves. So how does everything feel for you right now?
Yeah, quite a big influx of followers and attention overall, but I'm doing my best to kind of take it with grace and humility, and sort of trying to sort of manage expectations and just trying to take it day by day. The thing is, I think that we still have like 8 to 14 months of this sort of meme coin mania still ahead of us. And because of that, like we need to all, like I tell all my friends that are also involved in meme coins, I tell them that we need to kind of like try to be as stoic as possible and try to be as like patient as possible, and just like not celebrate or not kind of run ahead of ourselves before like 2026 even. So I think, like I've been telling people, I think 2025 is going to be a big year of opportunities of all kinds in crypto, especially meme coins. And we need to sort of lock in and we need to kind of make the most of it.
Agreed. Totally.
Yeah, good advice from me. I'm one who could be more stoic, for sure. I lean a little bit more hype man, high energy. So I appreciate that balance, Murad. Well, I want to just dive right in. So like your core thesis, you shared it, in the presentation at Token 2049. How'd you come up with that? How long had you been working on that? Kind of where did that come from?
Yeah, so other than crypto itself, like the world outside of crypto is changing, right? And I don't want to sort of rehash all of the bullet points I've made in my presentation, but just super briefly, obviously, like inflationary pressures are continuing, like the global money supply is increasing. People that have been familiar with like Bitcoin maximalist literature all the way from 2015, 2016, they know that like that has an effect on like people's mental health. That has an effect on financial markets, on the nature of assets, on the way they're being traded, and on the way like people feel, like literally at a chemical level, like at emotional level, right? And I think all of that kind of like affects like the crypto markets themselves microeconomically. That's why the core altcoin narratives and the core altcoin themes, like every 4 years, they're kind of becoming crazier and crazier. So the fact that meme coins are dominating right now, it's no surprise because you've already kind of been seeing this trend since 2014 or 2013, 2014, 2015, when meme coins, or sorry, when altcoins first came about. It was all about like, oh, we're going to use blockchain for this. We're going to use like decentralization for that. It's been almost 10 years of this. And I think people are starting to accept the sort of, I don't want to say bitter truth, but the reality is that the reality is such that blockchain tech actually has fewer use cases than like people are telling you, you know? But the few use cases that we have confirmed for sure are obviously like store of value, which is like what BTC is best at. You have like payments, which is essentially a combination of like stable coins and the payment rails. And then you have all different kinds of speculation, right? All different kinds. And both on the app side as well as the asset side, you can kind of view them in the same thing. You can even view the tokens themselves as sort of casinos, or rather tables at the casinos, right? And the reality of what meme coins are doing right now is they're showing a dark truth to people that all of the altcoins that have ever existed have been meme coins all along. They just had this sort of like Silicon Valley vibe or Silicon Valley branding. Oh, like we hired all those distributed systems engineers where we have this GitHub, we have that GitHub. But at the end of the day, no, the retail that actually creates the parabolas and the price appreciation, they don't care about technology. They care about making money and having fun. And that's kind of like the crux of it. The crux of it is that it was all essentially just performance art. And it was just a bunch of sort of manipulations and marketing to sell pretty much bullshit tokens to people at like $50 billion valuations, right? And so meme coins are essentially a revenge. They're a populist revenge of the trenches, because in 2017, poor people could get rich by buying the ICOs, right? Because at least back then, the ICOs like started trading at like low valuations. So at least you could build community in a gradual manner, and in a way where like middle class becomes upper middle class, or like poor people become rich, etc., right? And it was all organic, because even like Chainlink and even the Binance token, like they all started trading at like 20 million, like 15 million, whatever it was. It was like affordable prices, right? Now, because essentially, for lack of a better word, like VCs have privatized all of the gains in the space, like in the private rounds. Whenever something is liquid, it starts at like $15 billion. Obviously, like you're not going to build community with that. And so people realize that if it's not about the software, then it's the token itself that's like the core value proposition and the community around it. And then I'm pretty sure it's like young people in their 20s, in their early 30s, they've realized that we don't actually need to buy the VC tokens, right? It's actually not, they actually don't have a monopoly on token creation, right? And the meme coin wave is essentially, it's a giant pushback. It actually starts as a revenge against VCs, but my kind of more out there thesis is that it's going to evolve into something even much bigger.
Yeah, I think we broadly like agree with that. Like I think most people in crypto, I mean, when I came in 2021, you go on to most people in crypto, they're talking about buying altcoins, like 100x altcoins, and they didn't realize that the tokenomics just meant that like you were fighting against just like some crazy tide. So I think we're all in agreement that like meme coin dominance is going higher, right? It feels as though meme coins as a percentage of crypto, like you said, it's just payments. It's kind of the Bitcoin maximalist gold argument, and then you've got just speculation, and meme coins as internet culture are a big part of that. How did you get to the fun stuff? So how did you actually get to choose some of these memes? Like, right, you decided that meme coins are your thing. How did you do the next stage of this?
Yeah, so it immediately became clear to me that Pump Fun and platforms like it would eventually result in a situation where you're going to have pretty much like billions of meme coins. So in the back of my mind, I realized that you kind of need to run the following thought exercise, right? And this is just for kind of like example purposes. Let's imagine that there is going to be a meme coin representing absolutely everything, like every color, every country, every meme, every animal, every picture, like quadrillions of meme coins, right? And then on the other end, that's like on the supply side. Let's say on the demand side, we have a situation where we gave every person in the world like $2,000, and they have to like invest in like 2 or 3 meme coins, right? And then putting those two things together, you ask yourself, you kind of simulate it in your mind, like what are the things that are going to win in that environment? And then you understand that, okay, let's say 70% of people are probably just going to gamble it away. And you're kind of seeing that in the PvP trenches on Pump Fund, etc. So what's like the 30% that are going to survive and are going to be sustainable? And ultimately, it all boils down to the community, and it all boils down to the people involved, in my opinion. You really want, you essentially want something that is like so passionate to the point of being a cult, to the point of being a movement, even dare I say to the point of being like a mini modern religion. And these things, like, because they infuse like people's hearts, they become people's identities, right? People become so ridiculously passionate. At the end of the day, it's all about emotional resonation, and it's all about inspiration. So in order to identify the future giant meme coin winners, you need to ask yourself, which meme coins inspire people more, right? So the ones that inspire more are going to go to a higher market cap in 2025. That's the way I see it. And so then we can kind of dig deeper into like the quantitative stuff, like how do you measure inspiration? How do you measure emotion? And I guess like we can talk about that as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, I actually created a meme coin, and it turns into a religion pretty quickly. These things can go pretty wild, but I actually want to bring it back to your list, because
pull it up right now. Hold on, I got it.
I remember when I first saw this list, I was actually a little bit confused by it, because you kind of went for like lowest number of holders, which is like traditionally what like other meme coins wouldn't have got. And this obviously is a wild valuation long-term list. So when you see it, it obviously provokes a reaction. But it did feel as though you kind of cracked something which fewer people were looking at, like which was just kind of that religion aspect. Like those people that are diamond hands, they're going to keep it for as long as possible. And particularly ones which are maybe even slightly older. Like I looked through this list, and most of them weren't actually that recently. Like they were done kind of last year, or they've been building a community for like 6 months plus, and then now they look like they were going to come out of it. Yeah, maybe we want to speak about that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I have a strong bias against sort of Bitcoins which are from like 2023 or even early 2024. I think age is super important. So this is the situation. Cult building takes at least 7 to 8 months. That's why the 2023 meme coins are going to be the biggest, because you needed to have that time for sellers to sell and for supply to be concentrated in the hands of the people that like believe in ridiculously high market caps. And that's what you've seen with MOG in 2023. I believe that's what you're seeing right now with with Harry Potter Obama Sonic Tempino as it's ranging. That's what you've seen with SPX for the past year. And that's what you've seen with Giga for the first sort of 4 to 5 months of 2024 as well. So in order to build a cult, it takes time. It takes time for the idea to resonate and to percolate across society. It takes time for the supply to be sort of concentrated in the hands of true believers, rather than the people that are going to sell for a 3-4x. And when you have supply in the hands of true believers, you essentially have a situation where the supply is like pretty much solved, and then you have only the demand to solve for. So whenever there is buying coming in, it's just going to go parabolic, because like the believers are not going to touch their coins until like $100 billion targets, right? And whether you believe in those targets or not, it doesn't matter. What matters is like what the holders believe, because it's them making the decision, right? And so you, like when people talk about belief, it boils down to like the belief in the final valuation, the belief in your friends, belief in the mission, and belief in the sort of like the memetic movement. And these are the kind of things that you need to study.
It makes sense. So is the list static or dynamic? Are you planning to add and take some of these off perhaps? I know a lot of people
There we go, Mando.
care about that, because I think whether you this was your intention or not, I think people have started to like index this list. Like this is the Murad list at this point. So
yeah, that's a good question. I think I have a lot of responsibility right now. I I don't want to be a person that just shills random tickers. I don't know if you guys know, like it took me like 6 to 7 months, being sort of quote unquote in the trenches, being using like tiny Twitter and Telegram accounts to like sit down in these Discords and these Telegrams and to kind of like figure out the vibe, figure out the culture,
Wow.
figure out the people. And so I'm like, all of my picks are like very high conviction. I don't know if I'm going to be changing anything, but for the time being, all I can say is I'm very confident about this list. And one thing that I've realized and that has been paying massive dividends is this is not a trader's market. This is a believer's market, right? Believers are investors on steroids. And essentially, metaphorically speaking, of course, and believers, they realize that we're, first of all, like, forget about TA, forget about range trading, forget about timing, forget about rotations. All of those things are, those things, they're not going to take you far, especially if you believe that this cycle, if it's going to be anything even remotely similar to past 3 cycles, we're probably, in that case, we're probably entering into year 4. And in year 4, that's a situation where like delusional bull schizos, they outperform everybody.
Yep.
Even the most sophisticated quant trader in the world is not going to compare to a diamond-handed holder, right? And so I strongly believe you should be finding cults that you personally resonate with a lot, and realistically, millions of people around the world are going to be resonating with as well. And that's kind of the winning formula. And you should buy and you should hold, because I think, again, like I said earlier, there's 8 to 12 months left of this, maybe a bit more. And I think the best, like the top 10, top 15 meme coins are going to go like crazy parabolic. My logic is essentially, I'm just trying to identify category leaders, right? So there's probably going to be like different there already are like different categories of meme coins, and the way it works.
Can you go into that a little bit? Because I think that's an interesting point. Because it's something, again, I think you picked up on, is something that even I've tried to look at for Epic. It's just that you've kind of gone after niches.
Exactly. So obviously you have your dogs, which I would argue with is kind of the leader at right now.
Yeah.
You have your cats, which I think PopCat is the leader. You have your quote unquote culture, where I would say like Mog is the leader. You have SPX, which I refer to as like a movement coin, which is a completely new category. We can dig into that later. You have Giga as well, which is like a mixture of lifestyle and culture and masculinity. And then you have a bunch of other kind of smaller categories as well. And my vision was like the category leaders, they're almost always going to be better risk reward, because whenever like large big whales come in, whenever like large, even I think, first of all, I think even TradFi is going to be involved in this, right? Whenever they come in, they'll always go for the leader. And so holding the leaders in each category is much better. The people chasing like betas, the people chasing smaller versions of leaders, they're always going to lose, because it's always going to end up being PvP. The following is, I think, this is the most important concept in meme coins. It's something called critical mass, right? We can debate what critical mass is, but for the sake of the example, let's say critical mass is $2 billion. Let's say $2 billion is the critical mass. And simplistically, this is an important concept, right? If your coin goes to 2 billion, then it will probably go to like 10. It will probably go to like 12, 15, right? Or at least it has a very high chance of doing so. But if your coin doesn't go to 2 billion, then it will probably just like die, like bleed down, right? So really, even though there are millions of meme coins, it doesn't matter, because ultimately you should only be looking at like top 40, top 50 of them. That's kind of the way I see it.
Yeah, because I think that's an important point. Like if you go, I think originally with meme coins, it was find a cult, believe in something, right? But I think what you've really done is gone, they've got to be a certain age, really, to like have that maturity of people making money. Like Mudeng, for example, goes up to 300 million, but it's probably gonna take a long time for it to like change hands and get into the right hands, even if it survives, right? You've got to find that sort of religious cult style aspect to it. So like people that inspire. And then I think you've got to find these niches. I think the niches is the thing that's interested me, because that's what altcoins used to be, right? Like you used to have your different categories of altcoins. I feel like meme coins are just replicating that now. But they're kind of going to do it in a better way. Like, why would you want to buy a gaming coin? Why would you want to buy a DeFi coin? Why would you want to buy one of these various different other altcoin categories when you're just going to get VCs dumping on you for like many months, even years sometimes? Whereas I feel like some of these are just going to overtake that and maybe even be stronger than like the biggest ones out there.
Absolutely. And this narrative of the rotation, the giant rotation from tech to memes, I think it's still in its early stages. I think it's going to keep happening for the entirety of the next year. I think the anti-VC sentiment has not peaked yet. I think it's going to keep getting worse for those guys and their coins. And you need to also understand that there's over $150 billion of unlocks coming for like altcoin tokens and SAFTs over the next 4 years, which means that like it's essentially inflation. They're gonna be receiving these coins and they're gonna be realizing their profits. These VC guys, they are not the true believers that you're looking for, instead a community like a meme coin community with truly fanatical believers, their price action is going to obliterate all of the technological stuff. And ultimately, financial markets boil down to human behavior and they boil down to human belief. And if you are in the trenches, if you are in all of these group chats for both the VC tech coins and the meme coins, you will see that the meme coin people are 1,000 times more passionate. And ultimately, is the passion that you're betting on. It's the passion that you're trying to find. And wherever you find the passion, that's where you're going to find the millions, and in this case, billions of inflows.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to drill into a little bit, Farokh, if you don't mind.
No, drill, baby, drill.
I was curious how you like tested and validated your thesis. So you said you basically had handles, like smaller handles that you would go into Telegram, Discord, Telegrams, and get into these chats. I'm curious, like did you have coins that you thought were going to be perhaps on your list that didn't make it once you were like in the trenches and talking to them? Like, what were there any surprises during that like testing and validation process? I'm curious.
I essentially made a list of filters, and then I kind of like went down the filter, and that filter let me sort of make a list of like 20 to 25 things that I quote unquote consider as cults. So what is this filter? First of all, very simple. I didn't want to buy like the biggest meme coins because I think like they're already on, like a lot of them are already on Binance. They already had like the big catalysts. And I also didn't want to participate in the pump fund trenches, right? And it became increasingly clear to me that ultimately what matters is like attention to price or religiosity to price or this passion to price, right? And I said this, like I think I tweeted this in April or May, and I'm still saying it to this day. I think the biggest value right now is in mid-cap cults, right? So you don't want the pump fund trenches, like the extreme hyper gambling, and you probably don't want like Doge, SHIB,
So what
like
range?
Bonk,
What market
even,
cap
right?
range? What market?
Yeah. So for me, and I'm putting myself back into June right now, right?
Okay.
For me, I focused on the range of 5 million to 200 million. Like I think that like that's a good range, and that's like what I loosely consider the mid caps.
Okay.
That's one thing. Second thing is I much prefer Solana and Ethereum to any other chain. So yes, I know there's like stuff going on Base, Ton, Sui, say whatever, but ultimately, an important first impulse of these valuations is going to come from altcoin whales. And you need to ask yourself, like, where do the altcoin whales park their wealth? And right now it's Ethereum and Solana, right? And they have their Sol and ETH tokens there, and it represents $70 billion and $300 billion of wealth respectively. And there's also a ton of stable coins there as well. So essentially these are like large bank accounts. And whenever they finally understand that the meme coins are going to dominate altcoins this cycle and next year, that flow can happen quickly. And that's the kind of the flow that's going to take us to like 1 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion, right? So I focus on Ethereum and Solana. The other thing is I was looking at things that were, at least for the majority of my list, I was looking at things that were at least 6 months old, because the way I see it is cult building or community building, it's like a plane taking off. And before a plane takes off, it first needs to speed up a little bit. And that in this example, that is time. Nothing can beat time, right? The cabal can manufacture price. The cabal can manufacture short-term volumes. It can even manufacture a centralized exchange listing. But at the end of the day, time is something that you cannot fake, and it represents true commitment, because we all, let's say we live 80 years. time is like a serious investment of resources. And if I see that a meme coin's price has been ranging under $20 million for a year, right? It's not breaking out, but it's not dying. I know that there is a core group of holders that are essentially DCAing into the cells of the non-believers. And that's kind of what you want to find. And for me personally, as you guys might have noticed, I found the biggest success with this sort of 10 million to 30 million, like 10 million to 40 million range. I think that's a sweet spot for something that can develop that early stage cultiness, but also like not be super expensive. And that's where I, at least personally, in the last 4 or 5 months, that's where I found the most value for me, right? The other thing is, I want the meme to be unique. I'm also biased for things that are either real memes, like Giga and Apu, that have been out there since 2016 and have been popular on TikTok and Instagram before, or things that are new, but they have this sort of like a movement, like religious like feel to it, right? These are the two categories that I personally love the most, right? Because with the real memes, they're going to have the advantage of other people have already been familiar with them. And with the movements, you're just going to have much higher levels of inspiration, right? And at the end of the day, these are like more sort of the quantitative stuff, right? I, of course, as you guys might have noticed, I really like things that are truly decentralized as much as possible, right? I want the supply to be decentralized, both at the overall level, but also at the whale level. Without naming names, there's a bunch of cabal coins where, let's be real, for those who know, there's like 6 people who pretty much own 75% of the supply.
Come on,
I think that's kind of fucked up.
Names, Murad. You gotta.
I mean,
come on, we know those coins.
Come on, baby. You gotta protect the people from the cabal coins. You're like the roaring kitty of
Nero is just mentioned.
Here's all I'll say. If you are a large whale listening to this right now, if you are a wealthy individual, or if you are an institution, whether it's a VC or a TradFi institution that is considering dipping your toes into meme coins, please hire an on-chain sleuth or an on-chain quantitative analyst and have them not only look at the overall metrics, but also look at exactly what happened in the earliest blocks, in the earliest 100 blocks. Those who know, I'm not going to say anything else. But continuing on to my idea. So the most important thing is sort of this religiosity and this inspiration. And like I was saying, I also want the whale cohort to be decentralized. So I'm looking at how many people are there that own like less than 0.3%, but more than 0.1%, right? And then I kind of break that down into demographics and cohorts, and I want it to be balanced. I want it to look organic. If you kind of draw a giant matrix of all of this, you can see like which coins are legit and which coins are not. Ultimately, like I said, you're investing in people. So if you have that opportunity, you want to figure out who the leaders are, even if there are any, what the decision-making processes are, who the biggest whales are, who is talking about this on Twitter or who's not talking about this on Twitter. And essentially, on top of all of the quantitative things that I've mentioned, you want to get a feel for the vibe, for the culture. Are these people pure, or is this just another sort of group of weekly flavor of the week sort of cabal that's going to dump on you, right? And goes without saying that you want to look for people that are more long-term, that are at least thinking in quarters, better yet years, rather than people that are just trying to like get a quick 10x and dump on you next week, right? So ultimately, get to know the people, get to know the culture, get to know the memes, and on top of the sort of the more mathematical metrics, that's how you form an opinion.
I love that. Get the people, the metrics, the memes, all of that. Very smart. Question for you, Murad. Speaking of NFTs, you recently posted about NFTs, right? You put the infamous, Murad list. You ran it back with NFTs. Love that the Bitcoin puppets are in there. Obviously, love my punk, etc. So, what do you make of that side of the space now when it comes to NFTs? Of course, a lot of people say Memecoins this cycle or NFTs last cycle. Do you agree with that? And what's your NFT thesis?
They are actually technically the same thing. But I believe meme coins are going to be like 50 times bigger because it's very simple. When it boils down to even in a successful NFT collection, if you actually run the numbers, you will see that you essentially have like 3,000, 4,000 people that are shilling 10,000 illiquid JPEGs. Here, the situation is much more efficient on both sides. Instead of having 3,000 people shill 10,000 different illiquid JPEGs, what you have is like 500,000 people shilling one single coin. So you can see how much more economically and powerful that is from a liquidity perspective. That's why you will see much crazier parabolas in the top meme coins that even you saw with Basie or Punks. So meme coins are very similar to what NFTs are at their core, but the financial instrument that expresses it is much better. It's much more effective and it's much more efficient. And that's why instead of like whatever the market caps Basie and CryptoPunks went to, the top meme coins are going to do 30x more, 50x more, 100x more even, right? I actually have very strong opinions. I know you guys sort of originally made your names in the NFT sphere, as I understand it, in kind of 2021 and 2022. Mm-hmm. My view is that this cycle, the NFTs that are going to absolutely crush are going to be those that actually have a meme coin attached to it. And in a perfect world, you want the meme coin to have been created first, and then the NFT collection to have been created later, rather than the other way around, because that way it's much more organic and the meme coin is prioritized. The reason for this is the following, and this is why I am extremely bullish on Sproto Gremlins, Project Aeon, Retardio, and also Apu NFTs that are forthcoming. And the reason for that is because I think all four of these meme coins are going to do extremely well. They're going to go into billions, which A, means that their community is going to become very wealthy. And two, it's going to become a huge social flex in the digital sphere that you have been a part of those communities. And essentially, all of the quote unquote lieutenants of these sort of meme coins, they're going to be owning one or more of these NFTs. And I don't mean to sound tacky or cliche or gauche, but I essentially think that Project Aeon, Sproto Gremlins, and Retardio are going to become like the Patek, Vacheron, and Audemars of the sort of modern day memetic movement, respectively, right? And I think they're going to 50 ETH floor. I think if the meme coin mania gets crazy, they might even go to 100 ETH floor. I know it sounds insane right now, but if you do the math on illiquid assets, and I know you guys have seen this in late 2021, they can move in price very, very quickly, right? And the human brain, it thinks in linear terms. The human brain is like been scientifically proven to be very bad at understanding parabolas and understanding exponential changes. And I think these NFTs, specifically for me, my favorites are, like I said, Sproto Gremlins, Project Aeon, and Retardio.
Well, certainly we know things can get crazier than anyone can expect.
I mean, we've seen it, right, Tyler? Like Bored Apes went to 450K floor last cycle. Punks did as well, but Punks is different, right? Punks are Punks, and I saw them on your list. I actually really like that you have Punks on your list, Murad. I think it has a lot of legitimacy to it, and I agree with the meme coin thing. What do you think, Tyler? What were we gonna say?
Well, I think that like the last question on my list, and it's a little bit of a sensitive one, but it's how do you exit? So now you've got somewhat cult status. Folks are effectively tailing you into these plays. The Murad index. Does it all fall apart? As soon as you start to sell, and like, are you concerned about that? Have you thought about like what, even in 8 to 12, 14 months down the line, what that might look like?
I'm definitely going to sell some in late 2025, early 2026. For SPX and Giga specifically, I am definitely going to hold a bag multi-cycle because I think these two are going to last more than one cycle. I'm like extremely high conviction on these two in particular. But I mean, here's the thing, right? There will be meme coin valuation frameworks. People will come up with them. In the middle of 2025, you will see people like run Excel spreadsheets, run quant analysis, combining all of the social media data, and they will be telling like, okay, this is overvalued, this is undervalued, etc. Right? So just like with altcoins, there will be periods of undervaluation, there will be periods of overvaluation, and it's up to you to figure out your own sort of entry strategy, exit strategy. I recommend people to DCA, whether they're going in or they're going out. It's always much better because you can time the markets exactly. Maybe if you're really, really good, you can time it down to like the month or the quarter. So yeah, DCA in, DCA out is the most conservative way, and over the long time frame, it outperforms like trying to go all in, all out.
Okay. I think that's a good point. So it's something that a lot of people were wondering, right? Like how does Murad get out of all this, and where do we go from there? Man, do you have any last questions for Murad?
No, I've just got to pitch him. I've got to pitch him. I would kill myself, Murad, if I didn't tell you that I created a meme coin. It's 7 months old. It's an OG gaming meme from 2009. We're trying to become the biggest gaming meme in crypto. It's at 15 million. What else has it been doing? It's got 95% diamond hands at the moment.
Oh boy, I love this.
Top 100 holders own less than 50%. Just put it on your list. Have a look. Have a look at it for me.
On your watch
list.
list.
Working on this thing day in, day out for 7 months now, through several different 70% drops. And when you came on, I said I'd kill myself if I didn't pitch it to you. So epic. Have a look at it.
We'll definitely take a look.
I love that. I'll
send it to you.
I have to say, I respect that a lot. I respect that a lot to 1,400 people.
You shoot your shot, man. You shoot your shot. I've been doing this for too long.
I respect it. I respect it. You know, I mean, you know a thing or two. But Mando, what do you think of Murad's? Just quickly, because we pinned the entries for the Robit giveaway in a second here, so we'll do that. And Murad, you're probably gonna bring people luck. I feel it. But Mando, how do you feel about Murad's NFT point? Because I know Murad, you said we came up with the NFT trades and stuff. Mando famously, had a $10 million trade on the Bored Apes, right? When he dumped 72 of them on Machi. Famously last cycle. What do you think of Murad's NFT thesis here?
I think it's interesting because I actually think NFTs they naturally draw themselves to better community building than meme coins, because I tend to find that when I'm in NFT telegrams or discords versus meme coin discords, it's less about the price. It's often like, I don't know, I've just generally found like people associate with their identity, whereas there's no like there's been meme con, but there's no like NFT conferences, right? Like people aren't meeting up because they've been talking in discords the whole time. That may change. And I feel like what you're talking about, which is like this sort of cult aspect, maybe we get to that sort of stage. But I do think that meme coins can go a lot higher in terms of market cap than the top NFT projects. There's no doubt in that. Just because of the nature of them, you can only ever have 10,000 maximum holders of an NFT collection, right? And you can have hundreds of thousands of a meme coin. So like the actual people shouting about it can be way higher. That being said, like the actual core community I tend to find with NFTs is more like, they're like Navy SEAL Team 6, right? Whereas I find with meme coins is a bit more disparate.
They are, but also an NFT collection success, it's kind of its own enemy, because the floor price becomes inaccessible to low-income people, and they can't participate in it. While with meme coins, they can participate at any price point.
What do you have to say to people who are like, obviously questioning what you're saying? Of course, right now we're talking at the beginning of the show, like a lot of people, your main character, etc. Like, what do you make of the people that are like, yeah, this guy's delusional, like this is not working and stuff? Like, you just not give a fuck, just keep pushing through?
I'm very happy that people think I'm delusional, because that essentially implies that we're early. If everybody agreed with me, then there would be no economic opportunity here. In fact, if absolutely every single person agrees with me, I wouldn't want that. In fact, I welcome all criticism. I welcome all hate. And I welcome all branding of me as delusional, because it simply tells me that we have much, much higher to go. Yeah,
no, I love that. I absolutely love that. I agree with your 2025 thesis, man. It's something we've heard a lot. Kobe said 2025 was a bull market anyways. Seed Phrase was on last Friday talking about this too, and a few other people. So the fourth year is usually when things get crazy. Murad, dude, thank you so much for making this happen on short notice. That was a lot of fun, man. Appreciate you. Thank you for coming.
For sure. Thank you, guys.